get Zwift running. So with the scheduled start at 10, we are ready 2 minutes early. Said we were going to do the Greater London Flat today. And yeah, I may not have gotten all of my my sensors up. Let's take a look, make sure. Okay, I have all my sensors. Okay, now the only thing I haven't got is Twitch chat. There we go. Now I should be able to find it. There, we got Twitch chat. Not that I expect anybody to actually show up, but, you know, we're going to head out on the Greater London Flat course here. It starts out up here, basically St. James Park in front of Buckingham Palace. We have this section riding towards Buckingham Palace. It's just straight ahead, and it's just popped up this sprint, which I'm not making any particular effort at because I'm just warming up. And besides that, I'm not especially good at this, being a comparatively low-powered rider. For those who have never seen Zwift before, which is probably no one, since no one's probably watching, upper left corner of the blue box, power and watts, and in this case I'm a rather low-powered rider, so 26 watts is not much. I am spinning the pedals at 80, 81 thereabouts RPM. Heart rate is being monitored by a Wahoo Ticker heart rate strap. The sprint is showing me my results from that little sprint. The little bus says I have a drafting bonus right now, which I picked up when I went under that arch. Haven't got anybody really to draft, so I haven't used it. Bar in the middle is how fast I'm going in kilometers an hour. Toggleable to miles an hour. I like to ride in kilometers just because. I've ridden 9/10 of a kilometer so far. 0 meters in elevation gain. About 2.5 minutes into the ride. The orange bar shows where I am on my journey from level 17 to level 18. Every kilometer I get 20 experience points towards level. And then the blue thing, I have 596,000 drops, which are in-game currency. It's giving me a little map in the upper right corner, showing me where I am on today's course. At the end, we're going to get a U-turn and head back to Buckingham Palace. About 1% grade uphill right now, that's telling me. So you can see my wattage is up and my speed is down. We're in a mess because there are some environmental concerns in my basement. Not COVID, but more dust and mold. And we're coming to the end of this straight section. And straight ahead is an arch which, if memory serves, in London it memorializes Wellington. It's on one corner of Hyde Park. And the U-turn back to Buckingham Palace. I do have my phone with chat displayed on a handlebar mount on my phone, so if I see any chat I will respond. That's why I'm wearing glasses, is so I can look down and actually read it. Oh look, rain in London, who'd have thought it? I'm directly under drain pipes in this basement, so it's a good thing I'm not getting rained on. Okay, Buckingham Palace is in the right, but not really in our field of view. We're about to arc around the front of it and then make a left turn to run down to the Thames. To our left is basically St. James Park as we're on our way down to the Thames. Hasn't really turned downhill yet, but it will shortly, although not a steep downhill. Actually, we've got a slight upgrade, 3% here. So you can see my power has gone up. RPMs have dropped a little bit. We should, I think, start going downhill a little bit where the road breaks slightly to the right up ahead. If you look in the upper right, you can see the percentages drop from 3 to 2, now down to 1. So I think this slight upgrade is almost over. There's 0. Wattage is back down in the mid-20s. Heart rate boosted a little bit during that uphill. That's Big Ben up ahead, just slightly to the right of center. And since this is the Greater London Flat, we're going to turn right towards Box Hill. We're not actually going to go up Box Hill, but that's the shorthand Zwift is using. I could have tapped that in order to change direction, but I pre-programmed this route in, so I'm not making any changes. Now we've got a long ride. We're passing the Houses of Parliament on the left, and then we're going to come into view of the Thames on the left. And we're going to be riding around a bend in the Thames for a little while. Coming up on another junction, we're going to be going straight as part of the Greater London Flat. If we wanted to do any of the larger climbs in the London route, we would go left and cross the bridge up here. And there's the arrow for the routes. I'll click on it just to show them, but I am not going to change routes. Then you see it shows Surrey Hills. It's also the turn for Box Hills, which was mentioned earlier. You get on the other side, you have a choice between a route for Surrey Hills and a route for Box Hills. Box Hill is actually a real climb outside of London, and they've done a fairly good job replicating it in the virtual game. I've actually been to some of these parts of London, and it's very realistic, except there are no cars on the road, which I find vaguely disturbing. I can change my point of view, and now I'm going to set it forward without me included in the frame, which is actually what I prefer. And I'm going to tell everybody,
ride on,
just because. we follow along the Thames here for a little while, which, you know, it's nice and level, so I'm good with that. There'll be a little climbing further on, but not until we turn up the hill from the Thames. Thames is over to the left, but we can't really see it because park structure in between us and the river. We'll get back to the river shortly. Map in the upper right corner is okay, but I have Zwift Companion running on a 7-inch mini tablet on a stand to my right, and that's giving me a map I like better, so I mostly check that. Zwift Companion will pair with Zwift if it's on the same Wi-Fi network, and it gives you an alternate interface. Because, you know, reaching towards my laptop in order to click is kind of a pain whereas I can lift my hand off of the handlebar and tap some things on Zwift Companion and do things like
Right on!
which is just a general message to anybody riding near me. And I'm not sure what anybody is going to see out there, but if I click on another button on the companion, it will take a screenshot and save it to my disk drive. And usually I grab a couple and upload them to Strava. Because another feature of Zwift is that it can automatically upload your results to Strava, which is really convenient because when I do outdoor rides, I can also upload them to Strava so I can get all the data in one place. The actual setup here, I'm using a specialized Cirrus aluminum road hybrid that I got from my dad a few years ago, as he stopped riding with a old Cirrus, well really it was Cyclops at the time, it's Cirrus now, Magnus trainer, wheel on. And then I'm using Wahoo sensors for cadence and heart rate. The Zwift Companion is set up basically to pull in all the sensors and then pass them back to Zwift running on my MacBook. And I am pleased to see that running OBS to stream side by side with Zwift is not interfering with my sensors to any really critical degree. I wasn't sure how overloaded the MacBook might get once I added OBS and streaming. I did have to cut the frame rate down from 30 frames a second to 20 for OBS because that was overloading video processing. It's an old MacBook Air. And we're about to break right and go slightly uphill from the Thames. As you can see on the little map in the upper right. Thursday at 10 a.m. my tentative plan is going to be to do a easy warm-up ride, which I will stream, then calibrate the bike, which I will stream but won't be very exciting because I can't show you the Cirrus app on the phone that is doing the calibration. And then I will do a ramp test in Zwift, which will also stream nicely, as a way to find out where my functional threshold power, or FTP, is right now. I somehow suspect it hasn't changed much from the last time for reasons, but it's always good to retest every so often. The calibration is an important step. And there are a lot of people on Zwift seemingly running on poorly calibrated equipment, and the result of that is being misinformed about where you are physically. And I know from riding on an uncalibrated trainer for a while before I finally figured out I needed to do a calibration, that you can be really way off. There are an awful lot of people accusing riders on Zwift of cheating, and that's certainly possible. Probably people are cheating, but I think a lot of people just don't realize that if you were using a trainer with a wheel on, that calibration is critical, or you really don't know anything. Yeah, we're at the 1%. It will intermittently get slightly higher, but nothing in the Greater London flat route is really steep. If you want really steep in London, there's a ride up the subway steps after you come down from Box Hill or Surrey Hills. That's steep. It's also really short, so I try to hit it fast and then redline my power up to the top to get it over with, because once I'm at the top I can drop my wattage down to nearly nothing and slowly motor to the end. You try and go up something that's at 20% plus at a low power set, you can do that. Eventually you'll get up it, but it's going to take a long time. A little bit of downhill, not a lot, but we picked up some speed, we kept our watts down. Yeah, all of 8 meters. in altitude gain over the ride. Not very much, but I knew when I decided to ride this route that it wasn't going to be very much. We're going to go through a left, right, left sequence and then come to a hard right turn, and at that hard right turn we're going to start climbing back up to the level of Buckingham Palace in St. James Park. You can see the green area on the right of the map is the park. Left, right, left sequence starts here.
Ride on.
And look, our drops just went over 600,000. The actual drop goal that I have right now is for about 790,000 drops before I reach level 20, which I think is very achievable. Because my goal is to buy a virtual Trek Madone in the drop shop. And I know how many drops I need for that. And I will be unlocked at level 20. Up to 2%, down to 1. That's the right hand turn of the left, right, left sequence, so up here is the left. Note that a day passes much more quickly in Zwift than it does in the real world. It's now getting dark. And still suspiciously no traffic on these London roads. Really, it's 2% now. Climbing really started before we made that hard right, which we are on the way to. And yeah, you see we've gone from 8 meters to 14 meters in elevation, so that's, you know, 50% more in a rather short span, but still this is not steep. And you can see my power going up and down with the grade. But I try and maintain a consistent RPM. I haven't actually done any shifting in this ride because it hasn't really been necessary to go down because it's steep. If you look at the gray line across the bottom, very bottom, if it shows up on Twitch, You'll see that's the power, and gray is power zone 5, the low level, and this ride has been mostly in power zone 5, which makes it kind of an endurance recovery zone. You see these dropouts, which is a problem that's been annoying me for a while, and I have been unable to figure out if that's a problem with the software or a problem with the Cyclops trainer or what. Most of this stuff has firmware in it, and I've made sure that the software and the firmware is all up to date, so I really don't know what's up. I had worse sensor problems a couple months ago, which have cleared up with software and firmware updates. So really this is the least bad at this point, so I don't whine about it too much, although I do wish it would go away. At the beginning of the week, I was seeing significant dropouts in my heart rate monitor, and I'm reasonably certain my heart wasn't stopping. But the software update on the tablet cured that. Oh, we've got a downhill, minus 2%. This is enough to let me get a little speed up. Go a lot faster on the downhill from Box Hill, but we're not riding Box Hill today. I don't know that I'm ready for a return to Box Hill. And now a little bit of uphill. We are climbing out of the underpass, and on our right is going to be the area we were riding at the very beginning of this exercise. There's 4%, that's actually some work. And there's 2 more meters of elevation gain. But that may be close to all we gain in this particular ride. So if you look at the little map, you can see Buckingham Palace directly across to the right of where I am. I'm going to pass the edge of the park and then break right as I head back in towards the starting place. Yeah, the right turn, the zig back to the start is visible just at the top of the map. Now we've climbed enough to get to 30 meters. Not too bad. I am on what's called the Climb Everest Challenge right now. And 4 meters is 0.5% of the way up Everest. So at the end of the ride, I will bring up the screen that shows where I am on the Everest Challenge. It's been slow going since I haven't been breathing well since January. Although today is way better, as have the last 2 riding days. Okay, I upshifted in order to maintain my watts. I may even go up a little because this is a 4% downgrade. There's no reason not to pick up some speed. I'm going to go back down because I'd like my cadence to be up a little more. now barreling towards Trafalgar Square. Don't remember the precise routing through here, but I think we're going to break left in the square and take a short loop, turn around at a U-turn, come flying back, and then do the finish on the same path where we started. It's been a little while since I rode this route. We've been riding for nearly an hour. My calves are definitely feeling it. But I should be able to complete this without issue. And I aim to complete it without issue because I need the work. And we're approaching Trafalgar Square quite directly. The monument to Lord Nelson on the right, where you can't see the top. And you see our options. I guess we're not going to go across. We're going directly back onto the finishing straight, which is fine. Now we're doing that sprint over again, and once again I am not going to put a major effort into it because this is cool down. Which is not going to look any different from the rest of the ride. Because I have been riding basically at a recovery pace for the whole thing. Let's draft on this guy. And so even though I didn't actually try, I got faster, which is probably a lot of being warmed up. And there's a featherweight that I'm not going to use because my ride is done for the day. So this is a summary showing what kind of power I put out in the bottom left, distribution of my heart rate in the bottom right, give me some wattages, kilometers, time, calories burned, all that good stuff. That's the Everest challenge right there. We are at 47% complete, which is where we have been for the last ride and a half, which is fine. We're slowly inching up. Now, when I get to the top of Everest, the dirty little secret is that there's an extension to the Climb Mount Everest challenge, which is a ton more meters in elevation gain, but with one of the best bikes in the game, best virtual bikes that is, a prize when you get to the top. So I'm not stopping when I get to the top, but that's a lot of meters and it's going to take a while. And then over here in the garage, we'll double check. We see that I got my drops above 600,000. I can use drops to buy frames, and different bicycle manufacturers have frames in the store. I currently ride on a Specialized Alice Sprint, which is one of the best value buys in the game, and I'm perfectly happy with it, although I want my Trek Madone, just because I'm a Trek guy. But as you know, some of us are Trek guys and some of us are Specialized guys. The Madone unlocks at level 20. I think it's going to be about 880,000 drops if I remember correctly. But since there's a 10,000 drop bonus when you make level 20, I only need to get up to about 780,000 or so. The other thing that you can buy with in-game currency that matters to performance are wheels. And I currently am riding on the DT Swiss wheels, which are another one of those really good buys for the money. If I'm doing a ride where there may be a lot of climbing involved, I might switch over to these guys. And then we've got these guys that I don't use anymore. We look at my bicycles that are in my garage, which are different from the ones for sale. I had a Specialized Alice for a while. The Tarmac was an award for finishing the Tour Italy Challenge. Zwift Aero was one of my early bicycles. Zwift Gravel was a recent acquisition because it's a good bike for some of the routes, especially new routes in Mackay Islands that just rolled out a month or two back. And, you know, a mountain bike for certain types of routes. And then the time trial bike I almost never use because I basically am not doing any kind of riding where that's relevant in the game. So, end of ride. We get a summary of what we did in game. Okay. And now we get the save option, which is something that we definitely want to do here. It'll take a minute to save, and it's also uploading to Strava automatically because I've got the accounts tied together. And now we're going to exit. We also would have the option of changing to a different world, but we're going to exit as soon as the beach ball stops. And that's going to be the end of the stream, I think. I will be riding again on Monday and Tuesday at 10 a.m., probably streaming on Twitch. Thursday is the bike calibration and FTP test, which, you know, you'll see how to choose a workout instead of a ride. And so now we're going to stop streaming.